Hey, everybody, it's Jade. Thanks so much for swinging on through, stopping by. I really appreciate it. Whether you're watching now, later, whenever, hopefully not never. I'm going to be doing a astrology prediction for Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Minnesota Timberwolves Western Conference Finals for the NBA, game number 2. I'm going to go over my previous prediction for game 1. And then if you missed it, definitely go check it out. But I did a prediction last night too for WNBA for the Minnesota Lynx hosting the Dallas Wings. So I might just chit chat a little bit about that too, kind of what happened and my prediction, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm going to pull up the game chart for tonight. Tip-off slated for 7:30 Central Time in Oklahoma. And yeah, probably more close to like 7:40. So I'll probably read or pull the chart for like 7:35 because timing is ever so important in astrology. I say that every time, but hope everybody's doing well and you're faring well. And yeah, almost the weekend, holiday weekend, Memorial Day. So coming up, hopefully everybody gets to remember and have some time off work. And to everybody that does have to work, thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it. So yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Hi, Angel. Always good to see you. Cheers. Yeah, from Oregon, representing. Love it. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thanks for jumping in and watching. Thumbs up and the encouragement. I always appreciate it. Always good to see you. Sending the peace back from Minnesota to Oregon. Cheers. Is it Oregon? Okay, is it Oregon or Oregon? Oregon. I think I say Oregon. I don't know what I said, but anyway, cheers. Good to see you. We all have our wings now. All right. So, yeah, previous game. Let's see. I have like so many charts now. It's just like out of control, but it's fun. I'm just going to briefly go over, the Lynx game last night. Let me find that chart over here. I don't really think I need to necessarily look at it all too much. But I'll just kind of give a little recap of what I talked about yesterday. If you're interested, the video's there, or the live stream from last night. It was the Minnesota Lynx first game home. They're 2-0, and they were hosting the Dallas Wings. And it was a big homecoming for Paige Becker's first draft pick of the WNBA. She is from Minnesota, so it was a homecoming for her. And I was just kind of talking about how she was just going to get extra love from the crowd. I mean, even Minnesota Lynx fans. Like, it was a Lynx home game and their first home game. But I was just talking about how the crowd and just like everyone like cheering for her, even though she's the opponent. She's coming home, and it sounds like that's exactly what happened. I heard that they even opened up like more upper deck seats in the Target Center to make more seats available. The place was just rocking, exciting. I did also make mention that I thought the game was going to be closer than the first game that these two played. I think it was like a month ago or a couple weeks ago. The Lynx won their first matchup 99-84. I did think last night's was going to be closer. I had the Lynx winning by 7 to 10 points. I also was talking about like 4 points, 5 points, and lo and behold, the Lynx did end up winning. They won by 4. They won by 4. So it was Minnesota 85, Dallas 81. Paige Beckers was the second leading scorer for the Wings. I mean, she didn't have a lot of points. She had 1 rebound. She had 10 assists and 12 points, but she was the second leading scorer for the Wings. So she had a really good game, and it just sounds like the arena was absolutely rocking. And the Lynx end up getting the victory. They're 3-0. Unfortunately for Dallas, they're 0-3. And then the Lynx got their first home victory because it was their first home game of the season. So, yeah, congratulations to the Minnesota Lynx. And, yeah, just how exciting for Paige Beckers to, come back home, her first game back in Minnesota where she grew up, where she's from, now that she's with the WNBA. So very, very exciting. And, yeah, I was just kind of talking about all that stuff last night, which really isn't like a complete surprise. But it was kind of reflected in the chart as well. So it's just always kind of cool to see how that always like plays out. But for tonight, On to the NBA. I kept almost saying NBA. I think I did say NBA at one point last night too, but gotta give the ladies their respect. And I'm hoping to do more Minnesota Lynx games and WNBA too moving forward. So yeah, that's really cool. And go Lynx. So for tonight, game 2, OKC and the Timberwolves in Oklahoma City. The first game, game 1, I got to go back in my nerd notes here. All right. So game 1, I did have. So I had OKC winning by 3 to 12 points. That was my prediction. And the final score was OKC 114, Minnesota 88. So got the winner right, but the points were way off on that one. Still trying to figure that out. I say that every time. I'm going to figure it out. I mean, it's hard enough getting the winner or loser, but trying to get the point spread from the charts, I shall figure it out. And when I do, then I'm going to be unstoppable. But I just like to share what I know too, and take from what you will from this information. That's a word salad, but I hope you get it. So a couple of things from Wolves OKC game 1. There were technical fouls in the first quarter. Minnesota had 3 fouls early. Rudy Gobert had 2 fouls within like a couple of minutes of the game starting. He was pretty much butt on the bench in the first quarter. And I did talk about the two teams chirping a lot, just kind of a lot of extra chatter on the court for game 1 because Mercury was involved. And literally one of the announcers said that like early on. So that came to fruition as well. And I believe I heard correctly, but Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves was fined, I think $15,000 for game 1 for like obscene language. So yeah, a little bit testy there. And I gotta say, just watching that game, like for OKC, like there's some players on that team that Oscar contenders. Okay, like they're going for their Oscar, they're going for their Golden Globe, whatever. Okay, with the acting to draw the fouls. In particular, what's his name again? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, they call him SGA. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see how that plays out again tonight. I might try to take a little bit of a look at that in the chart too. And Saturn was in kind of like a prominent position for OKC in the last game. And something recently that I read about Saturn that I'm like, all right, I dig that. I can see it. Is like, if you lie, cheat, and steal, and you don't get caught, like that's good with Saturn. Okay, all right, you put the hard work in, but if you kind of slip around, sneak around it, but if you don't get caught, then like okay, that was definitely like with with all of the like fouls that were called on Minnesota, and especially like some of them, it was just like seriously going for the Oscar, like barely like touching an arm and like, oh my God, I got a fling on the floor. Okay, for OKC, but so we'll see if that happens for game 2. And just as a Timberwolves fan, I mean, shoot, they started off really well, had the lead, and then I think they got outscored like, I don't know, it was crazy. I think they only scored like 38 points or something in like the second half, but yeah, to get beat by 26 points, that's an ass whooping. So anyway, we'll see what happens for tonight. And let me grab the chart here, and I will share my screen. And I always want to look at the chart more than I have before I do the live streams, but I try my best. You guys know how it goes. Work, busy, errands, duties, cleaning, always something. But so I did take a little peek at this. I wanted to look at it more, but I just kind of ran out of time, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. But anyway, so let me share here and then we can get going. All right. I think this is the right one. And, too, no, that's the wrong one. Wrong chart. Too many charts, too many charts. Okay, it's this one. Here we go. All right. Here I am. Yeah, OKC. All right. And one thing too about the Lynx game last night was their chart and the Dallas Wings, their chart was very similar to OKC and the Minnesota Timberwolves chart from game one. So there were a little bit of similarities, a little differences, but some similarities there too, which, is always interesting. So here's the chart for tonight. I just have it set for 7:35. Again, tip off, the timing is so crucial, but probably going to be, a few minutes late like they do. So I'm just going to read the chart for 7:35 Central, and I'm going to go from there. I'm going to hope for the best. If the game, does start let's see, 7:45. I mean, there's nothing super, super, super drastic that changes within 20 minutes here or so. But I will say that if this game starts later, like 7:50 or after, I think the Timberwolves have a greater chance to win. But with all that, I am just going to read the chart for 7:35 and just cross my fingers that tip off is around that time within a couple of minutes. So the planetary rulers for each team do not change from game one. OKC is going to be represented by Venus, and the Timberwolves are going to be ruled by Mars predominantly, and then the co-ruler is going to be Pluto, because Taurus is the sign that is ruling OKC. Taurus is ruled by Venus, so OKC is Venus at 16 degrees of Aries, and then for the Timberwolves, they're going to be represented by Scorpio tonight, and Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, which is at 16 degrees of Leo. And then the modern day ruler is Pluto for Scorpio. I tend to go with traditional rulerships, follow more traditional astrology, but I do like to pay attention to the outer planets, that being Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. So, anywho, Mars and Venus are going at it tonight. So, very reflective too, and the astrology usually is. Venus and Mars, they are in exact communication tonight. I mean, pretty much exact, kind of like the last game. Venus is at 16 degrees of Aries. Mars, the Timberwolves, are at 16 degrees of Leo. Both of these planets are in fire signs. This thick blue line is representing a trine in astrology, which is the most positive communication that two planets can have. So I think this game is going to be closer than the 26-point blowout last game. But it is just very reflective. These two teams going at it, they're right there. It's there. And the moon for the last game, because the moon is the co-ruler of every chart. She also rules the people. So the moon is truth teller high. OKC refs versus for real, especially in game one. And I'm not one to generally make mention of the refereeing, because they're always going to get calls wrong, whatever sport it is. So, but it was, yeah, there again, OKC, they got some actors over there that are going for their Oscars. Okay. But yeah, so we'll see how it works out tonight. Truth teller, thanks for stopping through. Gonna need my fellow Leo, Aunt Edwards, to have masterclass and follow fire sign Julius Randle to keep it up. Yeah, I've looked up Julius Randle's sign before. What is his sign? I forget. And another thing too, that I have kind of been talking about, speaking of Anthony Edwards, is since he is a Leo, so his sun sign is really, I mean, I don't know his birth chart, but based on the date that he was born, his sun sign is right around the middle, right around where Mars is. And Mars too can represent anger, or it does represent anger and rage. So it's interesting as Mars moves closer to Anthony Edwards' sun sign, last game number 1, he got fined $15K because of obscene language. I don't know if he was swearing at a fan or another player. I don't know who it was, but I mean, that's a very good example. Now, Anthony Edwards has been playing predominantly well, but now, just like as an astrologer, as Mars moves closer, it has been more of like a hindrance because Mars is a benefic, or excuse me, a malefic planet. It's the lesser malefic planet, but Mars can be a meanie. And I was kind of thinking that Anthony Edwards was maybe born at night because for people born at night, Mars isn't as harsh. But I mean, if Anthony Edwards struggles and continues to kind of struggle here a little bit and doesn't kind of like snap into it and, you know, be the Anthony Edwards, because he's obviously a very talented player and gifted and wants to win. Like the fire is there. But, you know, can he contain, you know, the anger, the rage, you know, and that's what Mars brings. It brings energy too. So we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. You know, maybe Anthony Edwards was born during the daytime. So Mars is going to be a more challenging planet for people that were born during the day, but I don't know that. But yeah. Oh, he's a Sag. Okay, right on. Right on. Good deal. Yeah, Julius Randle too has just been playing really, really well. I was a little bit, as a Wolves fan, I was a little hesitant, like, you know, like, okay, but it took a little while, but he's been lights out. So I'm glad about that. All right, Sag, very good. And you know, I always say this every time. I am a Minnesota sports fan. I am a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, but when I do the astrology, I can't let the fandom, you know, get in the way because otherwise it's going to mess it up. You get your person, you got to stay objective. I got to stay objective here. So back to the moon being the co-ruler here. So for the last game, the moon, which also rules the people, the moon was in Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Very, you know, Jupiter can blow up everything it touches. Jupiter knows no boundaries. Jupiter can bring blessings. It can bring good luck. And now, so for the last game, the OKC had the moon, the people in Pisces, in their 10th house of their career and how they show up to the public. And that place was absolutely rocking. I mean, not surprising, but it's just another way that, you know, the chart works out like in real time. So now, though, tonight, the moon is not in OKC's 10th house anymore. The moon has moved. She is now in Aries. Aries is a fire sign. Aries can be a spitfire. Aries can just go at it, and they can go from like, okay, to rage very quickly. And, you know, for Aries, their perpetual age is like a 0 to 7-year-old. It's like it's a young, it's fiery, you know, want to go out there. And Aries is a cardinal sign, which initiates change. So could there be a shift tonight, you know, especially for the Timberwolves here? Could there be a shift in their game? All right. So, and the next line of communication that the moon is going to make is a trine to Mars, i.e., the Timberwolves. And a trine, again, the most positive communication that two planets or luminaries, the sun and the moon, can have. So I would expect, or how I'm reading it, I do expect the Timberwolves to play better. And again, is that really a surprise? Not really. They don't want to, you know, it's a national, you're in the finals trying to go to the championship. You know, you don't want to go back home down 0-2. You just don't. And you don't want to get blown out again. There's a lot of sloppy mistakes too. So I do see kind of like the fire being lit under their ass a little bit more here. I believe him and John Morant both have Leo moons as well. Oh, do you mean Julius Randle? Really? And John Morant both have Leo moons. That's cool. That's cool. Interesting too. Yeah, Leo moons. I know a couple Leo moons, and yeah, the Leos and the moon rules your emotions and your feelings. So Leos, it's like either, I mean, this doesn't go for all Leos, but kind of what I noticed, they either love the spotlight, they want it on them, or they want to put that spotlight on somebody else. But yeah, and can, you know, have a flair for the dramatics too with the Leos. Aries are the mean fire signs. I mean, it could be considered that way, sure. I mean, you have to look at everybody's like chart. But yeah, I mean, Aries, again, that perpetual age of being a 0 to 7-year-old. They're the very first sign of the zodiac. So that's why they have this like young spirit. What do 0 to 7 year olds do? I mean, I don't have any kids, but toddlers, they can freak out. Kids can freak out right away. Blah! And I've noticed with like Aries placements, in particular Aries moons, that they can pop off so quickly, and just that like rage kind of comes out, like that bite, like the ram horns. Like Aries is represented by the ram. Like, they will just come out and like get you. But then within a couple minutes, they're done. They're over it. Okay, you're over that pretty quickly, right? So it's like fast energy too. And with the moon being in Aries tonight, Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the Timberwolves tonight. So I do find that to be more beneficial for them. So I like that for the Timberwolves. Now I'm going to take a peek at each team's fifth house. That's the house of games. And then go back to the 10th house too, because again, that's the career, your public reputation. Yeah, it is kind of like childlike energy. Exactly. Yes. Oh, okay. And John Morant. Okay. Wow. If I could see that though, I'm going to have to see if Anthony Edwards' chart is available online somewhere. I mean, it must be, maybe. I mean, I could look in ephemeris too and just see where the planets were. I mean, I could just like figure it out myself, I guess. But I could definitely see Anthony Edwards being a double Leo like that, with his sun and moon being in Leo. Leo, very flashy sign, usually in entertainment, just the flair, the dramatics, and they can be leaders too. I mean, the lions, the king of the jungle type of thing. So I could definitely see that for sure. Oh, Julius Randle has a Taurus moon. Oh, man, I am jealous of Taurus moons. That is just such a nice placement to have. The moon loves being in Taurus. And I mean, like, usually people with like Taurus moons, if it's not afflicted by something else, like they can just have like money naturally come to them, be very, very good with plants, with gardening and things like that. So yeah, one of my friends, old coworker, Taurus moon, and just like salt of the earth type of people too. And that kind of seems like Julius Randle too. Like I know I think I think they're married, or they're set to get married. I think they just had like their second baby. I think they've been together for a while. And Taurus is a fixed sign. It's stable energy. It's grounding. I would imagine that Julius Randle is, very protective, and, that Sagittarian in there too, that fire coming out. So that's cool. Awesome. I love that. All right. So for OKC, again, they're represented by Taurus, this first house here for them. The first house in astrology is you, or your ascendant sign is also what it's called. So for OKC, they're ruled by Venus, and then their fifth house lands in Libra. So Libra is also ruled by Venus. So Venus at 16 degrees of Aries here, again, OKC, they are right in the Timberwolves' fifth house of the Timberwolves game. And unlike last game, Venus was working towards applying a trine to Mars. I think Venus was at like 14 degrees or 15, I think it was 15 degrees. So Venus, OKC, was working to overcome the Timberwolves, that being Mars. And that's exactly what happened. Now, that's already passed. Venus has already moved forward because they're both at 16 degrees, but Venus is at 16 degrees and 36 seconds, whereas Mars, the Timberwolves, is at 16 degrees, 21 seconds. So I read that as this game being closer, definitely. And with the Timberwolves, for the moon being in their fifth house of games, and working the next line of communication the moon is going to make is with the Timberwolves themselves. I just read that as like, okay, they got their heads back on, like let's forget about, not completely forget about game one, but we're going to learn from our mistakes and get that fire under our ass. And we're not going to go back home 0-2. We got to tie this thing up 1-1. That's how I see that. And, also, not to mention that the moon, the lord of the moon, is Mars. So, there's that for the Timberwolves. And for Oklahoma City, Their 10th house of their career is represented by Pisces tonight. Pisces is ruled traditionally by Jupiter at 26 degrees of Gemini. Modern day ruler is Neptune. Neptune's at 1 degrees of Aries. Venus, i.e. OKC, is not going to catch up to Jupiter before Jupiter moves into Cancer. So normally that would be a sextile, but if these two planets are what's called applying. But since Venus, by the time Venus gets to like 26 degrees over here, it's never going to catch up to Jupiter. So we can't count that. I'm just going to double check. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, Venus is going to catch up with Jupiter, I think. Okay, wait. Nope, I lied. It does. It does. I just wanted to make sure, but barely. All right. So that does count. I just have to double check. So for OKC, I do like that, which means like they are going to have crowd support. I expect the crowd to be buzzing. You know, they're probably all going to be wearing their shirts again. You know, they're going to have support of the crowd for sure. But I don't think they're going to have as much. And I read that as the Timberwolves potentially keeping it closer, potentially winning. Because for the last game, the arena or the fourth house nope, that still applies. See, these are things that I missed. Don't want to get off topic, but I have noticed there are a lot of Pisces in these playoffs, especially in the NBA. Really? And I wonder, have you found that the Pisces people have been playing well or have been maybe struggling? And I just asked that because Jupiter has been in Gemini for quite a while, and Jupiter's in its detriment in Gemini, and it doesn't feel comfortable there. So have you noticed like some struggles with the Pisceans that you found? That's interesting though. It's something about Pisces and basketball. And I wonder if we would go back and look like when the NBA was established, if the NBA itself has predominant Pisces or Jupiter in its own birth chart. That's an interesting observation, though. And maybe, too, the NBA is a very popular sport. I mean, is it as popular as the NFL? Potentially. But again, Jupiter, it will make things bigger. It knows no boundaries. And, I mean, I think basketball is more widely played across the globe. But, I mean, I think soccer is like the most popular sport, but a little bit of both. Okay, cool. Yeah, interesting observation. I like that. Yeah, very cool. All right, so for OKC, one thing that I want to just take a peek at too is that Saturn is in OKC's 10th house of their career, their public image, the people, the fans, the crowd too. Or how the fans, the crowd view them, I guess I should say. So Saturn was their last game. And what I was talking about earlier with Saturn, like if you lie and cheat and steal, if you fall on the floor, put on your acting hat, you're going to draw the foul. I feel like that's exactly how it played out the last game for OKC because they had Saturn in their 10th. And Saturn is there again. And also Neptune, which is the co-ruler of OKC's 10th house, also just barely making it in there. So I do think that, you know, for OKC, they don't want to slow down. This game two. They can go up 2-0 in their home. They got the fans are rocking. They're excited. They would love to go up 2-0. Go to Minnesota having a 2-0 lead. That would be absolutely fantastic, amazing. Saturn can also bring delays and blockages, though, and Neptune can kind of fool you. It can throw some glamour out there. You know, thinking of like a mermaid, right? That's going to try to seduce you and get you to come over and then pull you underwater. Kind of Neptune vibes there. So potentially OKC watching out for that. And for OKC, I was making mention that if this game starts later, I think the Timberwolves have a better chance of winning because Mercury rules OKC's fourth house of their home, their arena. tonight, and boom, it's right there on the ascendant, right on OKC. So, like, again, the fans are there. We're here. We're ready. We are going to support you. But if you look as a couple minutes goes by, if we get to like 750, Mercury falls into OKC's 12th house of what's hidden away from them and hidden enemies. So if the game starts a little bit later, I see that as more positive for the Timberwolves, like maybe, kind of being the Timberwolves kind of being able to shut them up a little bit, kind of stop the chirping. And then that would also, for OKC, that would move Uranus, which is unstable, erratic energy, right on their ascendant too. And I've seen that more predominantly in the NFL go very, very negatively. But it potentially could here too for OKC if the game starts a little bit later. But all of these planets are in OKC's first house, so it's kind of like their co-ruler planets. So not only does Venus rule OKC, but Mercury, Uranus, and the Sun are also kind of co-rulers of them too. And Uranus, this unstable, erratic energy, Uranus does not represent anything for OKC or really for the Timberwolves. I mean, it's there, but I say that because Uranus is the modern day ruler of Aquarius, and none of these houses which represent all sorts of different things for each team land in the sign of Aquarius. The only thing that's there is the co-ruler of the Timberwolves at 3 degrees of Aquarius, which is actually making good communication with the Sun. So I kind of see that maybe going a little bit more positively for the Timberwolves tonight. And the Sun is the ruler of Leo, and none of these houses land in Leo either. So Leo and Aquarius are what's called intercepted in this chart. No house lands there. So Leo and Aquarius are just kind of like floating around. And like, for example, I have Aries and Libra intercepted in my own birth chart. So it's like those two signs are there, but you weren't necessarily like born with it. So the qualities of those two signs, they're there, but it's like you really have to work hard and put a lot of energy and attention into getting what you want out of it because those houses were intercepted. I hope that makes sense. But so I see that going better for the Timberwolves because unlike the previous game, the Sun was the ruler of OKC's arena and their 4th house of their home base. And now the Sun, again, is still there. And the Sun represents, our core, the effervescence, right, of who we are. But since it doesn't fall in anything, since Leo doesn't rule any house here, it's there, but not as powerful and not as strong as the last game. That's what I think anyway. We'll see how it pans out. We'll see how everything transpires. But that's just kind of what I'm seeing right now. Of some differences, because the games are only played a couple days apart, obviously. So planets that move slower, they're going to kind of stay around to where they are. But little changes and differences. And again, we'll see how that plays out. And for Anthony Edwards, he is a Leo, and Leo is ruled by the Sun. So could this potentially be Ant's kind of like turnaround game? And would that surprise us? No. But that it is in the chart for a possibility. And now let's move over to the Timberwolves a little bit here. Hi, Ellen. Thanks so much for your comment. I appreciate it earlier. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. It's 1:32 a.m. in South Africa. Wow. Well, thanks for joining us. Up late? All right. Very cool. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. And yeah, I really appreciate your comment before. Appreciate that. And thanks for being here. So for the Timberwolves now, again, we've already established they're ruled by Mars and also by Pluto. Already talked about the moon. Next line of communication the moon is going to make is with the Timberwolves, which is really good for them. I like that for them. Not to mention that the moon is in the Timberwolves' 5th house of their games, of sports, recreation. The moon is there. The moon is the co-ruler, and the moon is the lord of the moon, is Mars. Mars is the Timberwolves. The next communication Moon is going to make is with Mars. Mars also rules the Timberwolves' fifth house of how they play their game tonight. So I like that for them. I like that a lot for them. And again, it's just kind of more credence or more like evidence that I'm getting that this game is going to be closer or have a final score that is closer. And I kind of feel like the Timberwolves have this opportunity, like the stars are aligning for them to get their shit together, so to speak, and tie this series up. Now, just like the last game for the Timberwolves, the wounded healer, Chiron, this little circle with kind of like a K above it, the wounded healer, that's a tough one. And, it was there in the fifth house that last game. And I think this could go back to Anthony Edwards kind of popping off and getting fined $15K because Chiron is in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. And again, where is Mars? Mars is in Leo, right by Anthony Edwards' sun sign. And Chiron, we all have it somewhere. It's the wounded healer for a reason. It's a wound that we all have and we all carry that we are constantly trying to heal. And it never really fully heals, but it's a constant that you're always trying to do. And I shouldn't say maybe never fully heals, but it's a constant in your life. And so that could be an explanation too. Now, I would, if I was the Timberwolves astrologer, I would heavily suggest, kind of like I did I think it was just this last game, but try to stay cool, calm, collected. Try not to let them get in your head because Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, the body part that Aries rules is the head. So I think that also kind of happened that last game too, especially with all the fouls getting called on the Timberwolves and things like that. Like they got in their head a little bit. And again, especially with Anthony Edwards popping off and getting fined. Oh, you got to try your best. Try to use that rage and anger as fuel for your energy and your ambition and your drive, because that is also what Mars represents. Eiko Lang Malakas. I hope I pronounced that right. Watching from the Philippines, 740. That's so cool. I love seeing everybody from all across the globe. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's awesome. Appreciate you being here. Right on. I love it. Yeah, very cool. So, and then for the Timberwolves, their 10th house of their career and how they show out to the public tonight lands in the sign of Virgo, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So the Timberwolves' career, their reputation tonight, obviously it's kind of on the line, right? They just got an ass whooping the last game. Obviously they don't want that again. Mercury right on OKC's ascendant, right there. And that's kind of what I was talking about too. If this game starts a little later, I don't expect it to start as late as like 7:50 Central Time. But if it does start around that time, again, Mercury moves into OKC's 12th house of hidden enemies. What is hidden from you? Mercury is the ruler of the Timberwolves' career, their public image, their reputation. Also, not to mention that it's the ruler, again, of OKC's home base, their arena. The Timberwolves could take some wind out of their sails tonight. Okay, make the thunder stop or whatever you want to, use there. So I do think it'd be more beneficial for the Wolves if the game started a little later. So if anybody from the Timberwolves is watching, try to make that happen, however you can. Maybe, I don't know what channel the game is on tonight. I think it's on ESPN again. But yeah, maybe they need to do a little bit more talking, somebody's got to tie their shoe. Maybe somebody's got to go do something before tip-off time, something like that. And then for the Timberwolves too, the part of fortune, the circle with an X through it, is in their 10th house too. And the part of fortune, I don't pay a super, super lot of attention to. Only when there's like not a clear-cut winner, I will look at the part of fortune. I do like to look at it, but I can't like base everything off of that. It's just like a little extra like helper. But the part of fortune is in Virgo, in the Timberwolves' 10th house of their career, and it's in an exact trine with Mercury. Again, the ruler of the Timberwolves' 10th house of their career. Now, on the flip side, for OKC, okay, the part of fortune and Mercury, part of fortune's in their 4th house of their home, their arena, and Mercury is right there. So this chart is a little bit of a more challenging one for me, because when I looked at this straight away, I was like, it looks kind of similar, to the last one. Yes, the moon changed and things like that. But as I was looking deeper into it, and with the shifts that have happened since the last game and the last chart, again, I do think that this is going to be closer. I think the Timberwolves have it all set up for them to even the series here. Start making some shots. Okay, don't let the other team potentially getting all of these fouls kind of get in your way. And on the flip side, if I was OKC's astrologer, I would kind of say the last thing that I said the last game for them. Be that little gnat. Keep doing the acting. Keep falling down. Do what you are good at and be that gnat. Be buzzing around. Be in their ear. It worked last time. Chirp a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but just be there. Again, gnats are small, but they're annoying, right? Just get out of here. What are you doing? Maybe even be like a fly. A little bit bigger, right? So, and do what you know well. That's what I would say there. But yeah, onto the prediction here. Toughy. Angel, I think OKC wins tonight. Ooh, yeah, it's tough. It is tough because I did think that originally when I first looked at the chart, when I was first kind of dissecting and looking at things, I did think that. I was just, as a Timberwolves fan, I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, so you might do it again. But I'm gonna take the Timberwolves tonight. Now, whether I'm right or wrong, I mean, whatever. I've been, knock on wood, though, I've been doing pretty good here recently. But I'm always learning. And I've been right before, I've been wrong before. I would like to always be right, of course. And as I continue doing the charts, you want to apply everything you learn and do better. But with the shifts that have been made, and with the moon being in a more supportive spot for the Timberwolves, I am going to take the Wolves tonight. I'm going to take them to even it up. I do think it's going to be close. Watch it be like a 30-point, blowout. We'll see. But again, I'm always learning. And I say that because of all of the stuff I already talked about. But the main thing, moon, next line of communication with the Timberwolves. Moon in the Timberwolves' 5th house of their game. Okay? That's one of the best things that I really, really like for them. And also a kind of like negative for OKC is that Uranus right here and the sun, which were two very, very powerful, planets, and the sun is a luminary, but those two planets ruled one of the houses or two of the houses in the last chart. But this game tonight, those houses, Leo and Aquarius, are intercepted. So they're just kind of floating around. So that loses a little less power. That's how I'm reading it. So I am going to take the Timberwolves to win, and I do think it is going to be close. Now, as far as the points go, I mean, like 1 point, 2 points, 1 point. Like, could this be like a 1 point victory here? I think it's going to be close, a close one, close. And, I say this every time too. I'm still really trying to narrow in like what's going to give me the point spread. Because, man, I mean, again, the winner or the loser, getting the winner or the loser, that's one thing, right? From the charts. But yeah, getting the points, that's a whole nother, ball of wax there. Ball of yarn, I guess is the better phrase. Ball of wax. I don't know. You guys get it. But for OKC, what I do like for them, is that in OKC's second house of their gains, what they own, like their money, their personal possessions, their second house is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is right there. Jupiter is in their second house, and Jupiter rules the Timberwolves house of their money. For OKC, it rules other people's money, and this would be the Timberwolves. So, I don't like that for the Timberwolves. I like that for OKC. And then on the flip side, the Timberwolves, their second house of their money and what they own lands in the sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is in the 8th house of other people's money, or the second house, again, of OKC. So, and yeah, and then too, with Pluto, the co-ruler of the Timberwolves, working towards an exact trine with the sun being intercepted this time, so a little less power for OKC, a little bit more power for the Timberwolves. Pluto's the planet of destruction, of upheavals. Oh, could the Timberwolves cause a little destruction tonight? And Pluto is retrograde too, so Pluto's moving backwards. Pluto's, instead of moving forward like 3, 4, 5 degrees, Pluto's moving backwards, which is even closer to the sun. So I am going to take the Timberwolves tonight. I'm going to take them in a close one. I'm going to take them by getting the victory by 1 point. Yeah, and I'm just trying to think of any, and the 1 point comes from Venus and Mars being at the exact same degree. The moon, yeah, and Pluto and the sun being 1 degree apart. Yeah, that's what I'm going to take tonight. And again, we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, I mean, again, Angel, to your point, I could see some things how OKC could win again. But we'll see if those little shifts, and especially the intercepted signs and the intercepted houses, Leo and Aquarius. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. And, for the Timberwolves, again, the moon being in the co-ruler of the chart, being in their 5th house of gains, the lord of the moon being Mars. Mars is the Timberwolves tonight. Not to mention, too, I didn't mention this, is that the moon at 4 degrees is still sextiling Pluto, the co-ruler of the Timberwolves, by 1 degree. So, I mean, the moon has passed the exact sextile, but you can generally still count that line of communication within like 3 degrees. If the moon is communicating to another planet within like 3 degrees. So that's still applying. So that's another one, potential point difference, or a 1 degree difference there. So I like that for the Timberwolves too. So yeah, I'm going to take the Wolves in a close one tonight. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Oh yeah, I will. Yes, you too. I'm very excited that tomorrow's Friday. And then I do get a long weekend, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, you have a good weekend too. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm taking the Wolves by 1 tonight. As an astrologer and as a Timberwolves fan, I hope I'm right. When I pick against the Wolves or pick against my home team, I always got to say, as an astrologer, I hope I'm right. But as a, fan of whatever team, I hope I'm wrong. So tonight, I hope I'm right on both accounts. And yeah, we'll see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it's exciting. And, are we not entertained? Do we not want to be entertained? But I'm definitely going to have my nerd notes handy when I watch the game. And yeah, sometimes I get caught up, so I don't take as many notes. But I gotta remember to do that because I'm talking about all this stuff here to note that could potentially happen. So I gotta remember because there's so much stuff going on, and I blather so much. So I gotta keep it all in line. So the nerd notes coming in clutch. All right. But, and then too, just for everybody, we're having a new moon coming up. I think in a couple of days here. I could just push this forward and I could find out. But that's when the sun and the moon are at the same degree. It's a great time to start something new on a new moon. So I think it's in a couple of days. I want to say, is it like the 26th or something? Let me see. Yeah, the new moon is on the 26th. So we got that coming up in 4 days. But I am planning on doing game 3. And that is slated for Saturday for the Timberwolves and OKC. They're going to be playing first game in Minnesota. So game 3, Saturday, I believe. So I am planning on doing that. But so hopefully I catch everybody there on the next one. I think it's 7:30. I think all the games are around like 7:30 for this series. So maybe, I don't know. I guess I got a couple of things going on Saturday, but probably, I don't know, plan to do the stream either early in the morning or probably around the same time on Saturday. So I hope everybody checks it out. Hope to see you there. And again, I really appreciate everybody hanging out and appreciate all your comments and just being here and watching. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So as a Timberwolves fan and as an astrologer, I will just overemphasize. Go Wolves. I hope they get the victory. And man, yeah, I don't know. It's just something about this 1 point thing. I don't know. It kind of brings me back to man, this must have been like 4 years ago now. I could go find it in my videos, but it was before I started doing the charts on my channel. But I was doing like pregame for Minnesota Vikings. I don't remember who they were playing at the time. I should go find it. But it was just like something it was just like something. It was like the Vikings are going to lose by 3 points. And they sure as shit, they did. I gotta go find when that was, what game that was. I think it was like 4 years ago or something like that. But I just remember, and I said it in the video too. I'm just like, I just have this like little inkling that, they're gonna lose by 3, and they did. But but in football, that could always happen, sure, right? So, but yeah, what time have we got here? Almost 7:00 Central Time. So yeah, maybe we'll see what time tip-off is too. I'll be interested to hear that because I always do feel like they're always listening. They're always listening, lurking, wherever they are, right? So Timberwolves, if somebody's out there listening, if you can, somehow delay this game to start around 7:45, 7:50, I think that'll give you a better opportunity. But I'll stick with the pick and we'll go from there. Hope everybody has a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks again for hanging out, checking it out. I really appreciate it, everybody. And have a great rest of your Thursday, Friday, your evening, your morning, wherever you happen to be. And hope you take care. And I hope I see y'all next time. All right. Thanks, everybody. Peace out for now. I'll talk to you later.